Okay, we are here with Santa Monica College board member running for appointed and running for election to a full term outright. Our own former board member, treasurer, Luis Barrera Castañón. Luis, so good to see you.
Great to see all of you. Thank you so much for this.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us about why you're running for the full term?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you. Thanks again for the opportunity to talk to you all about this. I think for me, originally, the plan was to run for the full term in 2026. I think when years ago, when I was at the community college and I was a student body president there, I knew that I wanted to be involved. I knew that we had gone through layoffs and we had to gone through some program closures in 2022. We lost automotive programs. And I think as student body president, I heard a lot from students about why these things were happening. And as we approached the board and asked exactly those questions, I felt like we didn't really quite get the answers. It wasn't as transparent at that point. And so that really stayed with me. It resonated with me. And I think I moved in that direction professionally. And eventually, when my son, we knew we were pregnant, I moved out to Santa Monica because I knew I wanted to build roots here, but eventually get into the board. And so one of the main reasons was around transparency. That's one of the reasons that I joined the board because I thought that these decisions that impact student lives, that impact workers, that impact our staff, should be much more transparent, or at least more information needs to be shared with the entire campus community before these things are done. And I still feel that way. I think in the actions and the thing and the choices that I've taken so far, things that I've said on the board, it has been around transparency. How do we share more with the community so that no one is really or people don't think that these decisions are made in a vacuum in that way. And for me, it really became transparency. I think as I learned more about the college, I learned more about the financial situation of the college. That then became another reason for me because I realized, I think in both looking at all the meetings from 2018 to now, and then reading the budgets, and because of my professional experience around education and workforce policy, I saw how much we depended on the college transfer and college only approach, and really left out the workforce development piece. And when I looked at the budgets, it's clear, right? We don't have a single person on the college general fund that is on workforce development. All of our funding is set up on the transfer side. And when you look at the community college system, it's a three-prong community college formula. One of those prongs is college transfer, the other two are workforce development, and the other is college going, which is those dual enrollments, our connection with the high schools. And unfortunately, we only have one high school, right? Or two. We have a continuation school that we work with as well, but it's really one high school. And for us to get all those numbers, all those dual enrollment numbers, those concurrent enrollments numbers, we just don't have the ability to do that right now. We need more. And so for me, it was workforce development, financial stability, and then transparency. Those are the reasons that I really joined the college.
Great. Well, so I wanted to dive right into something you've been kind of talking about in that answer there, which is the your vote, with the budget, the situation that happened earlier this year. Really just difficult vote, but as you've described, there is a lot of transparency issues about how things have gone in the past. And what do you said? Let's hear your take on it. We've heard some of your colleagues and some of the candidates in the field talking about this. What is your kind of view on what are the problems at the college that led to the point of these unfortunate layoffs that had to happen? And what do you propose that we do or that you do to turn the ship around and get to real stability?
Well, this has been a long time coming for us, right? If you look back even beyond 2014 and back to 2015, 2014, we started to struggle in that way, and we started to make cuts to our budget, some austerity cuts because we wanted to at least address the operational side. And there was other things that happened within the state too. Our retirement plans were no longer paid for by the state. The college then ended up taking a lot of that financial responsibility. So we started to see those revenues go down. Then you bring in, the first Trump presidency, and we have this attack on international students, and that has, for a long time, right, since 1990s, that has been a huge part of our budget, international students, because they pay the most, and we're able to use that money discretionarily, and that money is used to offset all the other classes. And so, as you sort of move forward in time, those things start to become unstable, and then you get COVID. COVID then just really puts so much pressure within the college system, the entire college system. But it definitely put a lot of pressures on us because, again, international students are those students that are not coming back to college because of those pieces. Trump administration, um, the state of California ended up putting a lot of money, and the federal government put a lot of money into education, into our systems to make sure that these systems did not fall or break. And luckily for us, we were able to be the beneficiaries of that. Our fund, our reserve fund, went from around 16 million to about $45 million. And there's this really amazing diagram that we have that our vice president of budget administration puts together. And it's essentially, it looks like a pyramid or just going up. And it's $45 million at the peak of the pandemic. And then what ends up happening is, we're going through some retirement plans. Again, we're having financial issues, so the college is trying to figure out what do you do through this period, right? We have staff that has been with us for such a long time. How do we then incentivize them to retire? How do we incentivize it to retire? What do we do with the staff that's existing to make sure that we keep them on? And then longevity and all these things start coming into play, right? People who have been here for 5 years, 10 years, can we reward them to stay with the college so that we have some stability, but then also help retire some of the folks that are ready to retire, but they might need an extra nudge there, or some extra retirements in order to maintain them. And so we start to make these decisions. And one of the decisions that we make is really around longevity. We decided that we were going to take these one-time dollars, these $45 million that we had, and we were going to then provide these fixed costs on top of it, thinking that in the future, our international students would be solved, that we would get our formula in place, that we would grow, and everything would be okay. And unfortunately, it didn't. And so we saw that sharp decline within that 40, from $45 million to around 16 again, and then now down to $8 million, because we took those one-time funds and treated them like long-term revenues. And unfortunately, growth hasn't come back to us. We went from 4,000 international students to now we're around 1,600 international students, and that's just a huge impact to the budget. I mentioned earlier we have a focus on transfer, but our society, our culture around college going is also changing. Last year, there was a study that came out where they survey high school seniors about what their college going preferences are, and only 45% of students said that they wanted to go to a four-year college, right? The majority of people are now looking for these applied careers, healthcare, computer science, even things like YouTubing and influence, right? Those are becoming viable options for folks, and those don't require a bachelor's degree. And not even to talk about debt, right, in that way, and loans and those pieces. So it's just becoming harder and harder for us to maintain the old formula, which was really focused on transfer. So all those pieces really led up to us being in this situation. I think some of it was foreseen, but others, we really were thinking that our growth would come back, that things would come better. I don't think any of us at the college level, or at least college administration level, thought that Trump 2 would happen in that way. And that's where now we are, right, in this situation. So going back to the decision, I think that's really what led us to this point. And when you look at the budget, we've taken severe, very drastic sort of austerity measures since 2018. We've cut a lot of our operational costs, contracts, what we spend on even purchasing. All of that has been taken up operationally, and our operational budget is only 8%. 92% of our budget is staffing, personnel. And so there's only so much that we can do on the operational side. And we've gotten to a point that we can't really do anything more on the operational side. And we have to start looking at staffing, at personnel, and that's where we were just last month and this year. I think for me, when I joined the board in last year in February, um, Trustee Foster, myself, I think started to talk about why aren't we talking about this? Why isn't there a sense of urgency to try to address these issues now and bring these up to the board? And I think what we heard from some of the board members was just let's just wait. Let's wait and see what happens. Let's hold on to things and see what's going to take place. There's even if you follow the board meetings at all, you saw that we went through a training, like public training that we went through because we brought these things up and it was not allowed, right? We shouldn't talk about the financial sort of issues at the college. Let's just sort of wait. And so we try to make the decision, and I think that's what I would have changed is that we should have had this conversation early on. We should have started this conversation on, been honest with the college about what was going on financially. And this is not anything that we've, I think, kept away from folks. If you look at the minutes, at the budgets, at the agendas, if you look at the state, you can come up with the same conclusion. The problem is that not a lot of people have that type of knowledge to put these things together. I think the board, the college administration should do a better job creating a dashboard and things like that. That's one of my solutions, and one of the things that I put on a board goal for this year is let's create a dashboard. Let's put all this information in front of people so that when these decisions come up, it's very clear why we're taking these decisions and why we're not doing other things in that way.
Well, I really appreciate that, Luis. Let's go to some other folks here. Isabel, you're up.
Sure. Hi, Luis. So it's interesting that you feel the college shifting its focus from to transfer to jobs right out of college, because that kind of dovetails with what I wanted to ask you anyway, which is about workforce development, preparation for careers. Because in addition, to being a good pathway for the students, these kind of things may attract more students in light of the declining enrollment. So you seem to have in your questionnaire sprinkled throughout there ideas about partnerships and pathways, how we can connect with local companies and entities and so on to develop jobs, skills that relate to the jobs that are out there. So, do you want to give some details of some of your ideas in that realm?
Yeah, definitely. For me, as a entrepreneur in the tech field, we're Silicon Beach, right? We've been the Silicon Beach, the equivalent of Silicon Valley for about a decade now. We need to really focus on that piece, right? We need to take ownership of that. Our community college has two bachelor's degrees in those fields, one in cloud computing, another one in IXD. There's more that we can do to connect to local companies that are hiring in that space. I mentioned that's one of those applied careers where you don't need necessarily a bachelor's degree to get access into it, as long as you have a portfolio. If you're able to build out, coding and now AI skills, you might actually be able to enter into the workforce directly from the community college instead of going through a four-year institution. So for me, having just this snap and local headquarters here from Apple, from Google, from others, from Hulu, there's so Netflix, there's so many companies here I think that we can be tapping into to try to create those pathways, or at least to try to create experiences where our students can gain those skills and maybe take them back into their communities, right? It could be both in terms of experiential learning and being on the job and doing work-based learning activities, or also being hired with those companies. The other thing too that I'm really interested in is registered apprenticeship programs. Registered apprenticeship programs, I think, offer a good opportunity for us to work with existing partners that have positions available, but that we might not have students with the right skills. How do we pair those two together, look at what the company needs, and then build programming to fit that specific company, right? That also allows us to look at non-credit courses, which are cheaper when you look at how they're set up and who actually teaches them in that way, because they're more workforce development. So it gives us more opportunities to be more flexible and innovative with just how we're serving the local community. I think the other piece for me is just upskilling. What I've seen within the entertainment industry, right? The lack of jobs and frankly the loss of that industry, how it's just going away. We have been that hub for a long time. And I think those folks that are here that are trying to figure out what do we do next, we need to figure out a path for them. Right. AI is a great path. I see all these amazing AI tools like Seed Dance and Higgs Fields that you're able to make content and create these movies and these things, right? But oftentimes, some of these folks might not have those specific skills. How do we create that within the college? And how do we become first responders when those things are going on, rather than wait until something happens and then build the programming? Like, let's look at what's happening with our community, and frankly look at what's happening with Santa Monica residents, right? Because I'm sure there's a lot of Santa Monica residents who are either in careers that are going to be impacted by AI, who can't or will not be able to go back to a bachelor's degree and they need to find solutions, local solutions. And instead of getting certificates from General Assembly or Coursera, why don't we offer those opportunities within the college for free, which we can do through non-credit, and give avenues for our local residents to upskill and reskill and try to get into different industries. And I think that by doing that, we actually open more opportunities for the rest of the region. Because I really do feel that the rest of the region and frankly, workforce development in general is moving in that direction.
Okay, Patricia.
I could listen to you for a lot longer, and you're probably the first candidate today that I've said that to. But but in an, and thank you for all for your ideas and the creative thinking that you're bringing to the board. I see that five of the six other trustees have endorsed you. I get it, and I get why one hasn't. But what I want to ask in the political realm is, are you slating up with any of the other candidates for College Board? And then I
Yeah,
have a follow up.
yeah. To answer your question, yes, that's sort of the plan, is to slate up with other folks who are running.
And who might that be?
Um, Shy Roy, Tom Peters, and Kira Snow.
Okay, there are going to be four seats up this time. Okay,
Correct.
because I noticed that you and Oscar share a campaign consultant, and that your campaign consultant has an ethical and possibly even a legal duty to do the best that she can for each of you. And if you're slating up a slate of four that doesn't include Oscar, um, I wonder, where the conflict lies on that, um, because if she's supporting Oscar, I mean, if she's supporting you and Oscar, she's supporting Oscar to beat one of the people on your slate, and politics gets tricky and icky at the same time. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I've known my political consultant since I was at Santa Monica College. She was a student trustee at Santa Monica, so I have a long-term relationship with her, and have just been a fan of just her work, even while she ran for assembly and when she was a chief of staff for one of the assembly members there. So just I just respect her, and I think we have that very open relationship and have talked about things like this as well, right? So we we have talked about the possibility that when this slate forms, that we might need to look differently, at least in terms of a campaign coordinator or a campaign manager, right? How that looks. So that's definitely part of the discussions, and I think once that comes up, I we can have that conversation, and if we need to, right, part ways in that. But we've had the discussion. At this point, what she does consulting with others is completely separate from what we do, and the type of advice that she gives me, I like I said, I've known her for 25 plus years, so I do trust, and I feel like she's giving me good information as I move my campaign forward.
Right. I do remember her, and I do believe that she's ethical. So thank you.
Yeah, thank
Thank,
you.
thanks, Patricia. Marcy.
Yes. Hi, Luis. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Um, how is the college supporting the openness of teaching, as well as allowing faculty to work in the way that they see fit, as opposed to imposing a doctrine? I've asked this badly, sorry.
Yeah, no, no worries. Um, We are extremely supportive of our faculty and staff, especially around teaching, and there's clear responsibilities of who's in charge for curriculum design, and that part, and academics, right, within the house. We have an academic senate who's really in charge of that piece, and I think there's a clear separation because of our shared governance of who is responsible for that. I think what I've read and what I've seen from past board meetings is that sometimes there is a friction, there is conflict, there is questions around whether or not some things are appropriate or not, and how students feel about it, react to it, and ultimately it comes down to safety. I think what ends up happening is that if there is a safety factor that comes in that really needs to be looked at, then those parties come together and they try to resolve to see if there's a different way to approach that specific topic, or to look at ways to work with the faculty, or even to work with students to see if they understand really what that means, and bringing parties together. So I think there is academic freedom, right? Not that I think there is academic freedom within our college, and faculty are allowed to do that. And I think there are standards, and that whole academic senate and faculty in general have a lot of professional development that they go through, and they have colleagues in other colleges and spaces that they can reach out to. But I think we have enough advice, influence, guidance to create programs, create courses that challenge students, challenge us as a society, but that can continue to sort of be put forward without any limitation in that way.
Thank you.
Okay. Lynn, if it's a unless it's a quick question, I think we're kind of running a bit behind. What up to you?
I think it'll be quick.
Okay, let's do it.
Just want to say to Luis the same that Patricia said, I love listening to you talk. And the explanation that you gave about what led up to the financial problems was the best I've heard. I mean, now I understand. And just a quick question. It was really interesting to read that you were an undocumented student at Santa Monica, and to know that you can relate to a whole lot of people. And I'm just wondering what you think, what steps should the college take to protect undocumented students?
Yeah, thank you for that. That's actually the reason that I even sought the appointment, was when Trump was elected, and there was so much around the attacks that were going to happen on immigrant populations and documented populations. And that's really the only reason that I think I got the courage to say, okay, I'm going to do this, right? Instead of waiting for those 2 years out. I think for me, it was really one, going back to Trump one, the college came together and supported undocumented students. We have an undocumented center, we have faculty that care immensely. We have connections to nonprofits that are doing a lot of great work, that are sharing information, that are keeping us all like up to date about what's going on and how to protect students. And then we have an amazing chief of police that thinks about this, and thinks about this, how to protect individuals and students. He works in collaborations with others. And I think we've been able to find best practices on what is the best way to protect the students while they're with us, right? There's not a lot that we can do externally when they leave the campus, but when they're with us, what can we do to ensure safety and to protect? And I think we've done a lot. I mentioned the chief of police. One of the things that they did for just graduation, so that graduation is not impacted, is that if you turn the school into a private event, then you can't just have law enforcement come in that way, right? That you can't just sort of enter a campus in that way, and that protects our families, that protects our undocumented students. So I feel that we are doing a lot because of just our connection with the entire community that is supporting undocumented student populations. If I didn't think so, I think I would be just definitely much more vocal about it, and pushing us to do more in that way. But just based on the centers that we have, the amazing faculty that care about this population in particular, and want to make sure that they succeed and that they persist within the college, I feel like we're doing as much, if not more, than other institutions.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much, Luis. Always great to see you and hear from you, as others have said.
Thank you.
All right, have a good one.
Oh, thanks. Okay, thank you so much. Bye bye.
See ya.